Today I want to talk about some more mindset matters. I promised to come on every Monday for the next 4 weeks. Well, this is the second week, so we've got 2 more to go. We're going to be talking about ways that we can improve our mindset, ways that we can cultivate a mindset that serves us. So we started that last week, and if you were with me last week, we talked about the victim mindset, where you just feel like you're the victim in your own life, where you feel like life is happening to you and you have no control over it, you have no control over what's happening around you. You're looking externally for answers when you should be looking internally. So we looked at that last week, and if you missed it, you can go on my timeline and watch last week's recording. But today I wanted to talk about something else that is extremely important. And on the description for this video, I said stop fighting for what you don't want and getting surprised when it keeps showing up in your life. And I find that lots of people do that. There are lots of people who fight for what they don't have, or rather fight for what they don't want, and they keep wondering, why does this keep showing up in my life? Maybe it's because you're fighting for it. Maybe it's because you're fighting for it. And again, it's one of those things we don't do consciously. Nobody gets up in the morning and says they want to fight for poverty, or they want to fight for lack, or they want to fight for broken relationships. We don't, but just subconsciously we do. And I'm going to explain what I mean in today's video. So today I want to talk about competing commitments. I heard that phrase for the first time from one of my mentors. He calls it competing commitments, and you could call it competing commitments or conflicting commitments. It's more or less the same thing. What are competing commitments? Competing commitments is when you're committed to two separate ideas or two separate beliefs, but they're conflicting. So for instance, you say you want to be rich. There's nothing wrong with being rich. I still meet lots of people who think money is evil. Money is not evil. Money is neutral. Money can be good or it can be evil depending on the person who has control over it. So you want to have loads of money, but subconsciously you feel like rich people are mean, rich people are heartless, rich people trample over other people to get what they want. Rich people tend to be dishonest, stinking. We use that phrase, don't we? Stinking rich. They're stinking. So you have that playing up subconsciously in your mind, but on the other hand, you want financial freedom. So do you see the conflicting commitment there? On one hand, you say you're committed to having financial freedom, which is going to involve you getting loads of money, but on the other hand, you kind of shrink back from the idea of being rich. I don't know if you know anybody like that, but I've met lots of people like that. So that is you having competing commitments or conflicting commitments. Another common one would be where you want a loving relationship, right? You want a healthy, loving relationship, maybe as a woman, but you somehow have bought into this idea that all men are unfaithful. Men cannot be trusted. I don't want to use the phrase that comes to mind, which most people use, but that is a belief that you've bought into. So on the one hand, you want a secure, loving relationship with someone who's going to respect you and honor you and be there for you and be faithful to you. But on the other hand, you just feel like it's not possible. You just feel like it could be male, it could be female, are not trustworthy. Maybe because of an experience you've had in the past. Again, that is competing commitments. You might not see it as you being committed to this idea, but you're definitely committed to it if you operate based on that belief. If that belief informs how you deal with relationships. So maybe you find it really difficult to trust in relationships. You go into a relationship and subconsciously you leave the back door open because you're just waiting, just expecting. It's too good to be true. You're just waiting for things to go wrong, even though you don't want it to go wrong. Those are competing commitments. And the reason why that kind of causes us to self-sabotage is because of something that's referred to as cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance. What's that? Cognitive dissonance is when you have competing values or competing beliefs, right? Where maybe what you're holding in your mind does not align with the action that you're taking or the things that you are saying. So you have that conflict. You see how it ties into having this conflicting commitments. And so very often when that happens, the problem with cognitive dissonance is the way people tend to deal with that conflict when it arises. So let me give you an example. Say, again, just staying with that example of you wanting a wholesome relationship, for instance, but maybe because of a past experience, you've reached the conclusion that men can't be trusted or women can't be trusted. And then you come across this person who completely appear to be genuine. You know, they're there for you, they keep their promises, they do what they say they're going to do. So this is information that is being introduced to you that is different to that belief you hold in your mind. Or it could be that you just believe that people from a certain demographic cannot be trusted. They're untrustworthy. Again, maybe because of a past experience, right? People from this particular demographic, maybe it's a particular part of the country they come from, or, you know, just whatever demographic it may be, you just believe that they cannot be trusted. You went into business with somebody from that part of the world and they completely let you down, they completely cheated you, and so you reach this conclusion that those sorts of people cannot be trusted, right? And then maybe you come across somebody from that demographic that is exhibiting completely different traits. They're acting in a completely different manner to what you firmly believe. So now conflicting information or contrary information is being introduced to you and is causing that conflict. So your brain has a choice. You have a choice to either process this new information that is being introduced to you and try and reach a conclusion based on this new information, or you hold on to your old belief and disregard whatever evidence is staring you in the face. And very often when people have these competing commitments or they experience cognitive dissonance, that's how they deal with it. They deal with the conflict by looking for evidence that reinforces their belief. Even if that belief does not serve them, even if that's not what they really want. And I'm sure if you really think maybe about your life or people you know, you can come up with examples of people who do this. So there's something staring them in the face. There's information staring them in the face. There's evidence staring them in the face. But they keep going, yeah, but, right? So they keep defaulting to the belief that they hold. Why? Because our brain, the way our brain is designed to keep us safe. And so when information is introduced that does not align with the core beliefs that we hold, our brain sees it as a threat, believe it or not. Our brain says, oh, what's going on here? I need to keep you safe. So let's get rid of this new information. It's more work for your brain. It's more work for your brain, more cognitive work to try and process this new evidence that has been introduced to it, this new information that's been introduced to it, to try and reach a different conclusion. It's just more work. And so what most people will do is default back to their old way of thinking. And this is why people will hold on to what they have right now. They will hold on to the beliefs they have right now, even if that belief does not serve them, because it's just easier. It's just easier. So for instance, maybe you just believe this person at work is really a horrible person, or maybe a colleague or somebody you network with, maybe you had an incident with them, and as a result you reached the conclusion that they're just horrible, they're just mean, they're not nice. And then one day they maybe exhibit a different way of being. Maybe they say to you, maybe they're going out for coffee and they say, oh, Jane, I'm going out to get some coffee. Would you like coffee? The treat is on me, and a cake or something, right? So that is them acting in a manner that is contrary to what you firmly believe, that they're mean, they're horrible, they're not nice. So you have a choice to either take this information and say, maybe maybe I was wrong after all. Maybe they're not so bad after all. Maybe there's scope there for change. Maybe there's scope there for experiment. I'm not saying completely trust them now and give your whole life to them, but maybe there's just scope for something different to what you've always held on to. You could take that view, or you could look for evidence that fortifies your belief, even though that evidence is different to what you can see. So you can say, oh, well, they must be after something. I wonder what they're up to. I wonder what they're trying to hide. I wonder what they're covering up, right? And most people deal with it that way. So when I say don't fight for what you don't want and wonder why it keeps showing up in your life, that's what I mean. Don't keep fighting for the things you don't want. And when I say fighting, when you go, yeah, but. So somebody comes to me as a coach and they say, this is what I want in my life. And I say, okay, have you considered this? Yeah, maybe it works for other people, but not for me, you see, because this, that, and the other. You're fighting for what you don't want. You might not see it like that, but you're absolutely fighting for what you don't want. Because every time you fortify that belief that things like that don't happen for people like you, you're fighting for what you don't want. Because on one hand, you want what it is you say you want. On the other hand, you're fighting for this idea that things like that don't happen for you. So when every time you discard whatever evidence is being introduced that will help you move towards what it is you say you want, but you rather hold on to what you know and what you've always believed and what you've always held on to, once you keep holding on to that, you're fighting for what you don't want. And unfortunately, what you fight for, you get. What you fight for, you get. So that's the little thing I wanted to share with us this afternoon. Don't keep fighting for what you don't want and keep wondering why it keeps showing up in your life. Because it absolutely will keep showing up in your life. So I want you to think about some of the competing commitments you may have in your life. What are those beliefs that you hold? You see, there's a program I run called Cultivating a Success Mindset, right? And it's based on 2 books. One is Think and Grow Rich, and you may have heard of Think and Grow Rich. And the other one is As a Man Thinketh. And you may have heard me quote from that book by James Allen. And in the book Think and Grow Rich, the main aim that Napoleon Hill is trying to get us to achieve is to get to that point where our attitudes, our beliefs, our habits, everything we do is aligned with the goal that we say we want to achieve in our lives. But sadly, for a lot of people, we have what John Maxwell calls uphill goals, but downhill habits or downhill beliefs. So I want you to start to examine your life and begin to look out for those areas in your life where your beliefs or your habits do not align with the goal you say you want, the dream you have, whatever it may be. And please don't say to me, I can't ignore it because it's the reality. If you watch my my broadcast last week, you will see that I really went into details about that. It's not about your reality. Your reality is what your reality is until today. That reality can change. You know, it's Einstein, isn't it, that said, if you keep doing the same thing, expecting a different result, that's the definition of insanity. So if you keep doing the same thing, saying, because this is what my situation and my current circumstances is telling me, and so I'm going to keep doing the same thing to fortify that, to strengthen that, while on the other hand, hoping for change, that's not going to happen. So what I'm saying to you is, in spite of the evidence you see around you, if there are beliefs that you hold, if there are habits that you have, if there are ways you think that do not serve the goal that you're working towards, that's a competing commitment right there. And so you're going to have to choose Am I going to be committed to my goal, or am I going to be committed to this belief that I hold that does not serve my goal? And my advice to you obviously would be, drop the belief. That belief came from somewhere. It came from maybe an experience you had in the past. Maybe it came from other people's experiences even. I've seen that happen. People have experiences, they share the experience with a friend, and that friend buys into their experience and forms a belief as a result of that experience and live their life based on that belief, even when it doesn't serve them. So I want you to begin to be aware of the ways you think and the beliefs that you hold, and see where you have those competing commitments. Because if you keep fighting for a belief that does not serve you and causing you to win in your life, that belief is going to keep attracting the things that you say you don't want in your life, and it will keep repelling the things that you say you want. So that's what I wanted to share with us today. If you watch this either live or on replay, I would really love you to comment. I want to know what you think about this. Have you considered this before? Have you heard it before? Have you made changes because you heard it before and then you made changes and you got different results? Would really love to hear from you. Okay, but until next Monday, I want you to have a great week. Bye for now.